There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes something unsettling. The more he chases a woman, the further she drifts. Yet the moment he pulls back into his own power, she suddenly begins to feel his absence like a whisper she can't shut out. What if I told you that making a woman obsessed has nothing to do with being richer, better looking, or smoother with your words? What if the real secret lies in becoming a man she cannot predict, cannot control, and cannot replace? This is not about manipulation. This is about transformation. The kind of inner shift that turns ordinary men into rare ones. In this journey, you won't learn how to pursue her. You'll learn how to become the man she ends up pursuing. Welcome to the channel, Stoic Love Wisdom. This is where we will learn, explore, and share valuable lessons about love. In today's video, I will reveal to you how to make an uninteresting woman obsessed with you, a new perspective, helping you better understand the factors that determine a happy and sustainable relationship. Let's explore with me the secrets to building a strong and meaningful love. Before we start, find a quiet place, put on your headphones and relax. Let all your worries melt away, and let the messages in this video help you calm down and feel the most complete. Are you ready? Let's start now. Part 1, The Paradox of Attention, Why She Doesn't Care, and Why That's Your Advantage. There is a truth most men learn too late: a woman rarely becomes obsessed with the man who tries the hardest to impress her. She becomes obsessed with the man who shows her a world she did not expect, one where his presence feels like a privilege, not a plea. And this is where most men fail. They chase. They over-explain. They prove themselves like a merchant begging someone to buy what he sells. They drown a woman in attention, hoping she finally sees their worth. But attention is a strange currency. When you spend too much of it, it becomes worthless. A woman doesn't ignore you because you aren't valuable. She ignores you because you haven't shown your value in a language she respects: presence, discipline, and emotional sovereignty. When I say sovereignty, I don't mean coldness or indifference. I mean something deeper, something Stoic men understood for centuries: mastery of one's inner world. A woman cannot be obsessed with a man who is obsessed with her. But she can become deeply intrigued by a man who is obsessed with his purpose, his peace, and his path. This is the paradox of attention. The less you need her validation, the more magnetic you become. A man who stands firmly on his own ground radiates a type of quiet confidence, a force that pulls instead of pushes. Women feel it. They can sense when a man's life is full, when his mind is disciplined, when his emotions are not tossed around like leaves in the wind. And that is when curiosity turns into attraction, and attraction into obsession. You must understand something fundamental: a woman is drawn not to your desire for her, but to the strength you possess independent of her. When she doesn't care about you, she expects you to react like every other man, overcompensating, proving, chasing, losing yourself. But when you don't, when you remain calm, purposeful, composed, and unshaken, she feels something unfamiliar. Something rare. Something compelling. Indifference is common. Detachment is weak. But Stoic composure, that is powerful. Stoic composure means you can talk to her without needing her. You can enjoy her without depending on her. You can desire her without losing your center. A woman becomes obsessed when she senses a man's inner abundance. His life is already overflowing with meaning, goals, discipline, and vision. She becomes obsessed not because he gives her everything, but because he doesn't need her for anything. Let me tell you a secret learned through years of experience and far too many mistakes. A woman feels safest with a man who is not enslaved by his emotions. You do not attract a woman by trying to win her heart. You attract her by winning your own life. When she sees a man who is emotionally stable, who does not fall apart from rejection, who remains grounded whether she stays or goes, she subconsciously understands something profound. This man can lead himself. And a man who can lead himself can lead me. This is why many men who are physically attractive, financially stable, even kind-hearted, still fail. They lack inner structure. They lack self-command. They lack the ability to stand firm in the storms of desire. If you want to make a woman obsessed, you must first stop being obsessed with the possibility of losing her. A man who fears loss becomes predictable. A man who fears nothing becomes unforgettable. When she senses that your happiness does not depend on her validation, she starts wondering. Why doesn't he need me the way others do? Why is he so calm? What world is he living in that I am only a visitor? Curiosity turns into desire. Desire turns into pursuit. Pursuit turns into obsession. You see, you don't create obsession through manipulation or games. You create it through self-mastery. A woman becomes obsessed with a man when he becomes the embodiment of something she rarely encounters, a man who is controlled not by lust, not by fear, not by insecurity, but by purpose and inner discipline. The Stoics taught that the greatest freedom is to be master of oneself. Women still respond to that today, more than ever. So if she doesn't care, don't try to force her to. You don't convince a woman with words. You awaken her with presence. You don't chase her attention. You elevate your energy until she notices it without you trying. And you don't beg for her interest. You become the kind of man who naturally commands it. This is the foundation, the first step to transforming a woman who doesn't care, into a woman who cannot stop thinking about you. Love is not always about brilliant moments, but often about patience, listening and accompanying in every small step. It is those simple things that nurture a lasting bond. That is also the reason why I believe that every experience in love is an opportunity for us to grow and become stronger. If you feel this, please click like as a way to spread positivity to more people. And if this is your first time visiting our channel, click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any lessons. I also look forward to hearing your thoughts. What is the smallest but most meaningful thing you have ever realized in love? Leave a comment below, maybe your answer will become a source of inspiration for others. Now, let's continue our journey to explore deeper perspectives right away. Part 2, The Power of Emotional Discipline, Why a Woman Craves a Man She Cannot Control. If Part 1 reveals the paradox of attention, then Part 2 reveals the engine that drives true magnetism, emotional discipline. A woman may be attracted to your appearance, impressed by your achievements, or entertained by your charm, but she only becomes obsessed when she encounters a man whose emotions are not easily moved. Because here is a truth I learned after many years of mistakes, heartbreaks, victories, and lessons carved into my bones. A woman cannot fully desire a man she can fully control. Most men today have inverted the masculine order. They believe emotions should lead. They believe feelings should decide. They believe vulnerability is the same as emotional chaos. But emotional discipline is not emotional suppression. It is emotional leadership. It is the difference between a man who drowns in his feelings, and a man who shapes them into strength. A woman becomes obsessed with a man whose emotional world is not open for takeover. Because emotional discipline does something few men understand. It creates mystery. Not the fake kind. Not the manipulative kind. But the type of mystery that emerges naturally when a man is not a slave to impulsive reactions. When she pushes, you do not break. When she pulls away, you do not collapse. When she tests you, you do not panic. When she ignores you, you do not lose yourself. She begins to wonder. What else is inside this man? What else is he capable of? What else is he choosing not to show yet? That curiosity is the seed of obsession. Because women are highly intuitive creatures. They are sensitive to a man's emotional stability, or instability. They can sense when a man is spiraling internally even if he thinks he's hiding it. They can feel when he becomes needy, anxious, or reactive. And just like that, the mystery dies. The attraction weakens. The spell breaks. A man who cannot control himself becomes predictable. And a predictable man cannot be irresistible. Let me tell you something harsh but true. Your emotional reactions are how a woman measures your strength. Not your muscles. Not your bank account. Not the number of compliments you give her. A man's greatest attractiveness lies in the way he navigates tension. A woman becomes more attached not when you make her comfortable, but when you show her that pressure does not bend you. This is why Stoic masculinity is so potent. Stoicism is not a philosophy of coldness, it is a philosophy of controlled fire. Passion without chaos. Desire without desperation. Love without losing oneself. A woman becomes obsessed with a man who burns with intention, not with instability. Consider this. When she pulls away and you remain steady instead of chasing, she feels it. She doesn't interpret it as disinterest. She interprets it as depth. She wonders why you're not reacting like every man before you. When she challenges you emotionally and you stay centered, she starts to feel safe in a way she can't quite explain. She senses that your emotions are not wild horses dragging you around, but disciplined stallions responding to your command. And when she realizes she cannot shake you, she begins to admire you, even if she doesn't admit it. Emotional discipline is rare in today's world. Most men are loud in their confidence yet fragile in their feelings. Most men appear strong but crumble the moment affection is withdrawn. And this is why a woman becomes obsessed with the exception, the man who remains stable regardless of external turmoil. Let me give you a truth that changed the way I lived and loved. A woman values your emotional consistency more than your emotional intensity. Intensity is easy. Consistency is strength. A woman becomes emotionally invested when she senses that your center, your purpose, your peace, your sense of self, is immovable. When she realizes that your feelings do not control your decisions, and her reactions do not dictate your identity. Here is another paradox of Stoic love. The man who is hardest to emotionally shake becomes the easiest to emotionally trust. And trust creates attachment. Attachment creates dependence. Dependence creates obsession. Not because you manipulate her, but because you give her something she rarely finds, a man who can feel deeply without falling apart, a man whose heart is warm but whose mind is unshaken. A woman does not want a man with no emotions. She wants a man whose emotions have structure, a man who can hold space for her storms without being swept away by them. When she meets that man, she doesn't just like him. She studies him. She thinks about him. She replays his words. She reevaluates his silences. And she tries to understand the depth behind his eyes. Because emotional discipline turns a man into a puzzle. And humans desire what they cannot effortlessly decode. This is how obsession begins. Quietly. Subtly. Inevitably. And it starts not with controlling her, but with mastering yourself. Part 3, The Art of Absence and Presence, How Your Silence Speaks Louder Than Your Words. If you understand emotional discipline, then you are ready for the next layer of quiet masculine power, strategic presence and intentional absence. Most men exist at two extremes, either they smother a woman with constant attention, or they disappear out of fear or insecurity. Both are weak expressions of masculinity. A woman becomes obsessed not because you are always there, and not because you suddenly vanish. She becomes obsessed when your presence has weight, and your absence has meaning. This balance, this dance, is what separates the ordinary man from the unforgettable one. Let me tell you this from a lifetime of observing human behavior, relationships, and the patterns that drive desire. A woman feels a man's value not when he is constantly available, but when his presence feels intentional, not accidental. Presence without purpose feels cheap. Absence without discipline feels like avoidance. But presence offered deliberately, and absence practiced with strength, creates emotional gravity. 1. Presence that commands respect, not attention. There is a difference between a man who shows up because he has nothing better to do, and a man who shows up because he chooses to. When you are with her, be with her. Not distracted. Not performative. Not seeking approval or trying to impress. A man who is comfortable in silence, who listens more than he speaks, who observes instead of overreacting, that man radiates a rare power. Women can feel it instantly. This man is not trying to take anything from me. His presence is complete on its own. Your presence should feel like a moment of stillness in her chaotic world, not another source of pressure or noise. That contrast is what pulls her in. 2. Absence that awakens her curiosity. Absence is misunderstood. Most men use it as punishment, manipulation, or emotional withdrawal. But a Stoic man practices absence as self-respect, not strategy. Your absence becomes meaningful when you are building your life. You are pursuing your goals. You are cultivating your mind. You are honoring your routine. You are living with purpose, whether she is watching or not. A woman becomes obsessed not because you disappear, but because she sees that when you are gone, your attention is not wandering, it is invested in yourself. This type of absence is powerful because it communicates something silently. I am a man before I am a lover. And when a woman feels that, she no longer interprets your distance as disinterest, but as depth. 3. The space you create becomes the space she fills. An inexperienced man rushes to close every gap in the connection. He double texts, he calls too often, he pushes for answers, he interrupts the natural rhythm of attraction. A mature man knows that space is not the enemy of desire. Space is the oxygen of desire. When you allow space, she begins to replay your conversations, analyze your tone, question what you're doing, wonder why she misses you. Imagine your world without her. Think about the next time she'll see you. You are not forcing obsession, you are allowing it to grow organically in the quiet moments when you are not present to interrupt it. Absence becomes the canvas on which she paints her fantasies of you. 4. The mystery of a man who is selectively available. A man who is always available loses value. A man who is never available loses relevance. But a man who is selectively available becomes unforgettable. Selective availability is not a game, it is a reflection of priorities. You do not rearrange your entire life for a woman you barely know. You do not abandon your commitments, goals, and routines just because she appears. You invite her into your world slowly, intentionally. Women sense when a man's life has structure. They sense when he is disciplined. They sense when his time is allocated with purpose. And a man who protects his time becomes a man whose time is worth pursuing. 5. Presence that feels like a reward. When your presence is rare, purposeful, and sincere, it begins to feel like something valuable, not guaranteed. A woman becomes obsessed not because you demand her attention, but because your attention feels earned. Think of kings and warriors, not the fictional ones, but the real men of history whose presence altered the atmosphere when they entered a room. They did not speak loudly. They did not boast. They did not chase validation. Their presence was the product of inner order. A woman becomes obsessed with the man whose presence elevates her energy, and whose absence awakens her longing. 6. Silence as your secret language. Women pay attention to what men do not say even more than what they do say. Silence, when coming from a grounded man, becomes a language. Silence that shows patience. Silence that shows confidence. Silence that shows emotional strength. Silence that shows clarity. Silence that shows you don't beg for attention. Your silence is not emptiness, it is composure. And composure is magnetic. When a woman realizes she cannot predict you, cannot read you easily, cannot shake your inner peace, her mind becomes restless in the best way. She starts to think about you during quiet hours. She starts to wonder what you're doing, who you're becoming, what you're feeling, but you reveal only what you choose. This is how presence and absence work together. Presence attracts. Absence intensifies. Presence warms her. Absence awakens her hunger. Presence shows your value. Absence makes her crave it. And this is how obsession starts. Not with noise, but with the quiet, steady rhythm of a man who knows when to step forward. And when to step back. Love is a great lesson in maturity. It challenges us with fragility, teaches us patience through waiting, and gives us strength after being hurt. Here, I don't just tell stories for you to listen to, but for you to reflect on yourself and find your own lessons. If you find it valuable, please click like and subscribe, so you don't miss out on the shares that can change the way you look at love. Now, get ready with me, because the rest will have a lot more depth waiting for you. Part 4, The Magnetic Identity, Becoming the Man She Cannot Replace. A woman does not become obsessed with a man simply because he is handsome, wealthy, or charming. Those things may attract her attention, but they do not secure her fascination. They do not anchor her emotions. They do not make her think about him late at night when the world turns quiet. What truly captivates a woman, what makes her unable to replace a man, is his identity. Not the identity he performs, but the identity he embodies. And this is where many men fail without even realizing it. They try to impress a woman by becoming what they think she wants, softer, nicer, more agreeable, more available. They shape themselves around her preferences, hoping she will choose them out of comfort. But here is the truth, spoken from scars and wisdom. A woman does not obsess over the man she can shape. She obsesses over the man she must rise to meet. This is the essence of magnetic identity. The inner architecture of a man who knows who he is, what he stands for, and where he is going. A man with a defined identity cannot be replaced because no substitute feels the same. You are not easily forgotten when you are not easily replicated. 1. The man with a purpose is the man with gravity. Purpose is a gravitational force. You can feel it when you speak to a man who lives for something larger than himself. His words carry intention. His energy feels anchored. His presence feels focused. Women sense this instantly. A man with purpose has direction. A man with direction has confidence. A man with confidence has presence. And presence is what pulls a woman into your orbit. Your purpose doesn't need to be grand or dramatic, it simply needs to be real. Whether you're building a business, cultivating your craft, shaping your body, growing your mind, purpose gives you a center, and a centered man is irresistible. Purpose makes you harder to access, harder to influence, and harder to control. And paradoxically, that makes you more desirable. 2. A man with standards becomes a man of high worth. Most men crumble under female attention. When a woman is beautiful, they abandon their standards. They tolerate disrespect. They accept inconsistency. They allow emotional volatility because they fear losing her. But a man with standards is different. He does not allow anyone, no matter how attractive, to disturb his peace, waste his time, or cross his boundaries. A man without standards is replaceable. A man with standards becomes a rare experience. When a woman meets a man who refuses to be treated poorly, who values his time, who protects his energy, she begins to elevate her behavior naturally. She becomes more intentional, more feminine, more invested. She realizes, this is not a man I can afford to lose. 3. Self-respect is the core of male magnetism. A man who respects himself does not chase validation because his worth is already established internally. He does not beg for attention because he knows his attention is valuable. He does not fight for a place in a woman's life, he offers a place in his, and she must choose to enter. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is the quiet recognition of your own value. And when a woman senses that your self-worth does not fluctuate with her interest, she begins to view you differently. You become the exception. The outlier. The man her mind returns to even when she tries to forget. A man who demands respect through force is fragile. A man who commands respect through identity is unforgettable. 4. Depth creates emotional addiction. Women do not crave shallow men. They may entertain them. They may enjoy their attention. But emotional addiction, true obsession, comes from depth. Depth is not about being poetic or mysterious on purpose. Depth is created through your discipline, your principles, your insight, your emotional intelligence, your ability to stay calm under pressure, your willingness to walk away from anything that does not honor your peace. A deep man is rare. Rare things are valued. Valued things are pursued. A deep man makes a woman feel something she cannot easily feel elsewhere. That she is in the presence of someone who understands life, understands himself, and understands the quiet truths that most people run from. 5. When your identity is strong, she attaches to your essence, not your behavior. A woman becomes obsessed when your identity leaves a mark on her psyche. She remembers your energy, your discipline, your tone, your reactions, or lack thereof. She remembers how grounded you felt, how composed you stayed, how centered you appeared. Even in your silence, she feels you. Even in your absence, she notices you. This is the power of identity, it transcends actions. A man without identity must constantly perform. A man with identity simply exists, and that is enough. 6. You become irreplaceable by being incomparable. Any man can offer attention. Any man can offer compliments. Any man can offer desire. But very few men can offer a unique internal world. A sense of stability, direction, and presence that a woman cannot find elsewhere. When a woman encounters such a man, she does not just want him. She fears losing him. And that fear is the beginning of obsession. Part 5, the final shift, becoming the man her mind returns to again and again. Obsession does not begin with the moment a woman likes you. It does not begin when she compliments you, smiles at you, or agrees to see you. It begins the moment she realizes something startling. I can't figure him out, and I can't forget him. A woman becomes obsessed with the man whose presence reshapes her emotional landscape. The man she thinks she understands at first, until she realizes she doesn't. The man who makes her feel safe, yet challenged. Desired, yet not possessed. Included, yet not depended on. When you master this final shift, you stop being just a man she met. You become a story she keeps telling herself, again and again, in the quiet moments she never admits to anyone. Let me show you how this shift happens. 1. You stop performing and start being. Men exhaust themselves trying to impress women. Showing achievements, flexing charm, exaggerating confidence. But performance creates pressure, not attraction. And pressure kills desire. A stoic man, a seasoned man, does not perform. He embodies. When you stop trying to create an image, and instead live according to your truth, something powerful happens. Women feel the authenticity. They feel the grounded masculinity. They feel the quiet confidence that comes from being aligned with your own principles. And authenticity is unforgettable. A woman may be entertained by a performer. But she is enchanted by a man who is fully himself. 2. You cultivate emotional stillness, even in uncertainty. The final shift into being unforgettable is not about always knowing what to do. It's about how you carry yourself when you don't know. Uncertainty is where most men collapse. They panic when they don't get a text back. They overthink every word she says. They start acting from fear rather than presence. But when you respond to uncertainty with emotional stillness, when you remain patient, composed, and centered, she feels something rare. This man isn't controlled by circumstances, he is controlled by himself. Women are naturally emotional. They are naturally intuitive. They are naturally responsive to energy. When they meet a man whose inner world is calm instead of chaotic, strong instead of shaky, intentional instead of reactive, they feel drawn toward him like a shelter in a storm. Calm is seductive. Stillness is magnetic. Emotional self-command is addictive. This is what makes you linger in her thoughts long after the conversation ends. 3. You master the power of emotional contrast. Human desire is built on contrast. Warmth feels warmer after cold. Attention feels richer after space. Presence feels deeper after absence. A man who gives everything all the time becomes background noise, predictable, constant, easy to dismiss. But a man who understands contrast creates emotional resonance. Your warmth feels valuable because it is not automatic. Your attention feels meaningful because it is not desperate. Your presence feels intentional because it is not constant. You give just enough for her to feel seen. And just enough space for her to feel your absence. This contrast is what creates longing. And longing is the seed of obsession. 4. You hold your frame no matter what she feels. A woman becomes obsessed with the man whose identity remains intact regardless of her emotions. There will be days she is cold. There will be moments she is distant. There will be times she tests you, consciously or unconsciously. Most men collapse during these moments. They change their tone, soften their boundaries, increase their effort, or start pleasing more. But the man who holds his frame stands out. He does not break because she is upset. He does not chase because she is distant. He does not crumble because she is unpredictable. He remains himself. Centered. Clear. Grounded. And this teaches her something profound. His world does not revolve around my moods. This realization creates security and attraction at the same time. She feels both challenged and safe with you. And paradoxically, this is what makes her return to you mentally, emotionally, and physically. 5. You become the man she can't replace, not because you try, but because you evolve. The final shift isn't about making her obsessed. It's about becoming a man so aligned with purpose, identity, and inner strength that obsession happens naturally. You become irreplaceable when you keep growing. You keep refining yourself. You keep evolving without needing applause. No woman can replace a man who is forever becoming a better version of himself. She may walk away. She may date someone else. She may ignore you for a while. But eventually, she will compare. And no matter how far she goes, she will not find another man with your combination of discipline, depth, mystery, composure, and purpose. Because very few men live this way. Very few men walk this path. Very few men become the story a woman keeps returning to. 6. And finally, you detach from the outcome, not from the connection. This is the ultimate Stoic principle in love. Desire the connection. Do not cling to the outcome. When you enjoy her but do not need her. When you desire her but do not depend on her. When you allow the bond but do not fear the loss. You free yourself. And by freeing yourself, you create the very conditions that make her attach emotionally. Because nothing is more powerful than a man who can love without losing himself. A man who can walk away if needed. But chooses to stay because he wants to. Not because he fears being alone. This is the final shift. This is what makes you unforgettable. This is what makes her obsessed. Not because you manipulated her, but because you became the kind of man she cannot replace, cannot ignore, and cannot stop thinking about. Conclusion. In the end, making a woman obsessed is not about tactics, games, or manipulation. It is about becoming a man whose presence carries weight, whose silence has meaning, and whose identity is too grounded to bend for anyone. A woman becomes captivated not by what you promise her, but by what you embody. Discipline, strength, purpose, and emotional sovereignty. When she meets a man who does not rush, does not chase, does not crumble under pressure, she feels something rare, stability wrapped in mystery. You become the exception in a world full of men who seek validation. You become the calm she didn't know she desired, the challenge she didn't expect, and the presence she cannot easily dismiss. The truth is simple. You do not make her obsessed by focusing on her. You make her obsessed by mastering yourself. Your emotional discipline becomes her anchor. Your selective presence becomes her longing. Your identity becomes her fascination. Your purpose becomes the gravity she feels but cannot explain. And because you do not cling, she holds tighter. Because you do not beg, she leans in. Because you do not lose yourself, she begins losing herself in thoughts of you. This journey is not about controlling a woman. It is about cultivating a life so rich, so powerful, so intentional, that she cannot help but want to be part of it. Become the man who is unforgettable not because he tries, but because he evolves. And when you do, obsession is no longer something you pursue. It is something you naturally inspire. So today's video has ended. Thank you for taking the time to watch it all. I hope you have learned valuable lessons and these shares will help you on your love journey. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive more interesting content in the future. I'm very grateful for your support and see you again in the next videos. Wishing you all love and happiness.